Okay, we're here, Bill Donahue at Discerning Truths, talking about Jesus. Actually, we're talking about the book of Daniel today. And so I do a stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Pacific time. Monday and Wednesday, we talk about a book of the Bible. Right now, I'm in Daniel. We're starting chapter 3. And Fridays, I talk about stuff related to Christianity. Sometimes barely, but we're here, right? So, in Daniel 3, it's a story that most of us are familiar with. Anybody that's gone to Sunday school is familiar with it. It recounts the story of Daniel's friends. Their Babylonian names are Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Their Hebrew names are Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And they refuse to worship the statue of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar puts up. And it leads to them being thrown into a fiery furnace, and they get a miraculous discovery. Now, what's interesting to me is historically, this aligns with Babylonian practices, okay, of enforced idolatry in public spectacles like this, as evidenced when you look at like ancient Near Eastern manuscripts, okay. They're abbreviated A&E typically, like the Nabonidus Chronicle, which is in the British Museum of Archives. Okay, it describes similar things to this, not the statue of gold, but this forced idolatry. Now, the style here, this is literally in literature called a court tale. Okay, and so in these court tales, little intrigues that happen in the king's court. This one is emphasizing themes of loyalty to God over empire, and these repetitive lists of officials and instruments are used for rhetorical emphasis. Okay, this is a common compositional device used in ancient Near Eastern literature. And what I've tried to explain to you guys as we've done our studies is that what do you call it? Just because the Bible uses compositional devices that are common in the pagan world, or quotes books that are pagan in thing, does not stop the Bible from being the inspired word of God. I think there's this all or nothing kind of idea in Christianity sometimes, and so you're here. The other thing that we're going to talk about a little bit, and I explained in the introduction, the version of the book of Daniel in the Masoretic text, which is in your Protestant Bible, okay, and the version of the book of Daniel that is in the Septuagint, the Greek copy of the Old Testament, are significantly different. The Greek copy is much longer, has sections that don't exist in the Masoretic text. It is my opinion that those sections got added during the Second Temple period, but it is clear from the Dead Sea Scrolls that the Masoretic text is a translation of one family of Old Testament text, and the Septuagint is a different family. It's not that one's a better translation. They're translating from different manuscripts, different groups of manuscripts. So chapter 3 in Daniel, when we're going to go through it right now, ends at verse 30. And chapter 3 in the, Septuagint version ends at verse 90. That's a significant difference. So you got the prayer of Azariah and the song of three young men, which are in there. So when we talk about the Apocrypha, these are books that the Protestants do not consider to be scripture. The Jews did not consider to be scripture. But because they were part of the scrolls connected to the Septuagint, early Christians and early Christian books that translated the Old Testament into, or used it for Greek for when we had the Old Testament and the New Testament being put out, the early ones would include these longer versions of Daniel. But I'm not going to study those last 60 verses, okay, in this chapter, because they're not part of our study today. And then So I did want to talk to you about. I always do intertextuality in this in the book, right? You know what's going on. How did Daniel use earlier manuscripts, earlier revelation? How did New Testament writers use Daniel intertextually? Once we get past the genre of the book, Daniel is part history and part apocalyptic literature. Okay, kind of, and it is, you know, we understand the genre and we understand the compositional devices. We've talked about a lot of different compositional devices that are non-literal that are used in the Bible, right? Then you get down to intertextuality, and this is really an area that I didn't teach on much. First couple of years I was online because I was trying to build a base, build an understanding, a foundation, and then raise it up, right? So I've talked a lot about intertextuality in recent months because it is my next step when I'm trying to understand what a text says. And I go through the different layers of study. This is the next thing that's going to influence the meaning for me. So what happens is that when scholars look at this, they find several allusions in Daniel 3 to prior Old Testament texts, and it often underscores themes of idolatry's futility, and God's protective sovereignty. And these are not explicit quotations or paraphrases, but they're more like echoes and adaptations. And evidence is drawn of this when I read commentaries and they discuss intertextual studies. If I do anything well, okay, it might be the ability to read scholarly material and explain it to the average person in the pews in a way that you're going to understand. And that's what I try to do here. And maybe that's me making a self-assessment. Maybe you don't think I do that well, but whatever. But there's an allusion to Isaiah 43:2 about being protected from fire in Daniel 3:25-27. And it describes the three men unharmed in the furnace with a fourth figure, one like the Son of Man. All right, the ESV translate like the Son of the Gods. And verse 27 notes the fire had not any power over the bodies of these men. The hair and their heads was not singed, their cloaks were not harmed, and no smell of fire even came upon them. So this echoes Isaiah 43:2, which says, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. And when you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, and the flame will not consume you. So this prophecy is in Isaiah, and it's about God's protection, right? But it is literally sprang out in these men in the fire. So scholars describe Daniel 3 as an expansion on this promise through this narrative, adapting Isaiah's assurance of divine presence in amid trials to the diaspora, the spreading context of the persecution. Okay, the northern kingdom had been totally either displaced. Much of the southern kingdom was absolutely wiped out. Like I said, not in total numbers of people, but as a percentage of the population. The Babylonian conquest and captivity exceeds the death of the Jews in World War II. It is about 90% of the population is wiped out, and those that aren't wiped out are no longer around, and a very small amount of them are taken into captivity in Babylon. And then you have echoes of idol. A polemic is just an argument. An idol polemic from Isaiah 40, chapters 40-55, and in Jeremiah 10. There's a lot of, in those chapters, against worshiping idols. Now, the golden image in Daniel 3:1-7 and the command to worship it is parallel and it critiques the idolatry in earlier prophets. For example, Isaiah 44, 9-20 mocks idol makers. All who fashion idols is nothing. And Jeremiah 10, 3-5 described idols as lifeless. For the customs of the people are vanity. A tree from the forest is cut down and worked with an axe. He's talking about making stuff. All through the Old Testament, it talks about these idols that have ears that can't hear and eyes that can't see, right? And in one story where they're moving idols on the saddlebag, and God's making fun of them. You got to carry your idol with you because it can't even move itself, but you're looking to that idol to save you. The Old Testament's full of that stuff. And ancient Near Eastern parallels include the Babylonian texts like the Era epic, where gods demand homage. But Daniel subverts this with a monotheistic loyalty. He's loyal to Yahweh and Yahweh alone. He will not worship the other one. Daniel's friends will not do that. Now, when I was reading this, I thought there was an obvious allusion here to the worship of the golden calf in Exodus 32. But when I was looking through the scholars, there's not a consensus. So that might be an echo. It seemed like it to me, but like I said, I try to, unless I'm certain scholars are wrong, I try not to disagree with them. And so it may not be there. And now later writers. This is what really affects us more, is how did New Testament writers use Daniel? And Daniel influenced later Jewish and apocryphal and Christian texts as a model of faithfulness amid persecution. That theme is in the New Testament. Surely you can see it, right? Or adapting it to martyrdom themes. Evidence from the post-exile writings, and this is their exile in Babylon, shows evolution from deliverance to resurrection hope. It's not just deliverance from a human king, but deliverance from the God of this world. In the apocryphal, sometimes the Catholics call it deuterocanonical, the second canon. Okay, the apocryphal, we're talking about these books that are in a Catholic and Orthodox Bible, but not in your Protestant Bible. In 1 Maccabees 2:59, it directly alludes to this event, and it calls them out. Hananiah, Azariah, Mishael believed, and they were saved from the flame. Okay, see, it's a Jewish text using their Jewish name. They're not going to honor the renaming by this Babylonian king with names that honor false gods. And 3 Maccabees parallels the structure about enforced idolatry and divine rescue. Though the dependence in 3 Maccabees, again, the scholars were split on whether it's relying on Daniel. In the New Testament, we get more direct. In Hebrews 11:34, it says they quenched the power of the fire. It's a direct allusion to this miracle of the fiery furnace, listing the three as faith exemplars. They're people we can look up to. Revelation 13:15 echoes Daniel 3:10 in a worship or death decree, right? Whoever does not fall down and worship will be cast into the burning fiery furnace in Daniel. Revelation 13 caused those who, talk about that false prophet, will cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain. This adapts Daniel imagery into an eschatological persecution, end times. Indirect echoes are also found in Mark 15:35 and 36 and Matthew 26:53, reflecting ultimate deliverance expectance from martyrdom, right? Even if we die here, we're expecting to be delivered. And that's the theme that's being taught here, right? So with that, we're going to jump into Daniel 3. King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits and breadth was 6 cubits. He set it on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon, and then King Nebuchadnezzar sent and gathered the satraps and prefects and governors and counselors and treasurers and justices and magistrates and all of the officials and provinces and come to the dedication of the image of the King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then the satraps and the prefects and governors and the counselors and the treasurers and the justices and the magistrates and all the officials of the provinces gathered for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up, and a herald proclaimed aloud, "You are commanded, O people, nations, and languages, that when you hear the sound of the horn, the pipe, the lyre, the trigon, harp, and bagpipe, and Nebuchadnezzar has set up, and every kind of music, you shall fall down and worship the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And whoever does not fall down and worship it shall immediately be cast into the burning fire furnace." Therefore, as soon as the peoples heard the sound of the horn, the pipe, the lyre, the trigon, the harp, the bagpipe, and every kind of music, all the peoples, nations, languages fell down and worshipped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Okay, so here, I just want to back up because we don't use cubits to measure, right? A cubic is 60 cubics is about 75 feet or 23 meters, just about 23 meters in high. 6 cubits is about 9 feet or 2.7 meters wide. That's a lot of gold. Even if this is a gold-plated image, that's a lot of gold. If it's solid gold, that's a massive amount of gold. But I would imagine what's more likely is that it's an image that's gold-plated on the outside to give it its sheen, but was likely built with something less on the inside, the structure. Now, when you get the part about mentioning, and I mentioned in the introduction, there's clear parallels between this and the worship or die thing that's going to come in Revelation 13, right? You can see this. It doesn't mean that there wasn't a literal worship or die command in Daniel's day, and there won't be a literal worship or die. Of course, they can both be absolutely true, but both are conveying the same thing. God expects from us believing loyalty, that we're going to refuse to worship that which is not by nature God, right? We don't worship idols. We don't worship governments, politicians. We don't worship anything but God and God alone, right? And then verses 8 to 12, it says, "Therefore at the time certain Chaldeans came forward and maliciously accused the Jews. They declared to King Nebuchadnezzar, 'O king, live forever. You, O king, have made a decree that every man who hears the sound of the horn, the pipe, the lyre, the trigon, the harp, the bagpipe, and every kind of music shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast into the burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom you have appointed over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, pay no attention to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you set up.'" Okay? So I just want you to imagine for a minute that we're Babylonians. Okay? The king not only brought these foreigners in to the country, but he set some of those in his high court. Right? So change this to Americans. Let's say we're Americans, and in a previous presidential administration brought in foreigners and set some of them up on the high court, in Congress, to rule over the province. Do you understand what's happening? Do you think there might be some resentment against these foreigners ruling us? And this explains why. It says they maliciously accused the Jews. They didn't accuse the Jews of something they weren't doing. They were refusing to worship this thing. But they have another agenda. Their agenda is get rid of those foreign people in leadership. They resented them, right? So they tell the king, they don't serve your gods or worship the golden image you have set up. That's going to require the king to act. King can't tolerate insubordination. Otherwise, he looks weak. So they put the king in a place where he's got to act to show that he's the one that, and he must be absolutely obeyed. Right? And then Nebuchadnezzar, in his furious rage, commanded that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be brought. So they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar answered and said to them, "Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image that I have set up? Now, if you are ready, when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, and trigon, and harp, and bagpipe, and every kind of music, to fall down and worship the image that I have made, well and good. But if you do not worship, you shall immediately be cast into the burning fire and furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you out of my hands?" Okay? So, first thing I notice is Nebuchadnezzar doesn't just accept the accusation against these men. He brings them in, the accusation's enough to question them, but he puts them to the test. Is this accusation true? Is there evidence? And today it seems like just an accusation of guilt is sufficient. It's taken as evidence of guilt. Right? I've watched this for the last few years. People accuse others. You're a racist, you're a bigot, you're whatever. They don't back it up with anything. Right? You're doing unconstitutional orders or whatever. They don't back it up. They don't prove that it's an unconstitutional. It's just the accusation of wrongdoing is treated by many people as evidence of guilt of that wrongdoing. This king said, "No, I'm going to give you a chance to defend yourself. Accusation's been brought. Tell me if it's true or not. Because I got a simple test. If you bow down and worship the statue, then I know the accusation's false. If you don't, then the judgment's certain. You're going to get burned in the fire." Now look at this king, how powerful he is. He sees him in almost a godlike nature. He's thinking, I'm so powerful as the ruler of Babylon, even among the gods, who could save you from my hand? The arrogance here is unbelievable. But he is just telling him and telling us that he thinks he is, nobody can stop him. Who is like the beast? Who will fight against him, right? And then, what do you call it? In 1618, it says, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If this be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship your golden image that you have set up." I love this. This is a powerful part of this book to me. The king is judge, jury, and executioner. In Babylonian culture, he has absolute authority to kill these men. If he doesn't like their response, if he doesn't like their tone in responding, he can kill them. But they tell him, we have no need to answer you in this matter. This is like saying, we don't answer to you, we answer to God alone. That you want to tick somebody off on authority, tell them that. I don't need to answer to you. I answer to God for my actions, right? But I love the way they express their faith. They are certain that God has the power and the ability to save them. They say, if this be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fire first, and he will deliver us. But they are not certain God will save them. Whether in life or death, they will not serve the gods or worship the golden image they have set up. This, I think, is a lesson all of us. Sometimes God doesn't rescue us, or he doesn't heal us, or heal our loved ones, or fix a circumstance in the way we want, right? You stand up for God, you try to be honorable, and you get crushed for it. And you're going, God, where's my rescue? What happened to me? Sometimes God's plan does not involve saving us from those kind of things. But he's still worthy of worship and our believing loyalty. I also think there's a lot of people that teach today that if the way you get your prayers answered is you got to pray and have no doubt in the outcome of your prayer. You got to believe for healing and not doubt it. And if you don't get healed, it's because you doubted. These men are believing God that he can heal them, but they don't believe God will necessarily rescue them. That's exact opposite what is being taught in the church today. Then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with fury, and the expression on his face was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He ordered the furnace to be heated 7 times more than it was usually heated. And he ordered some of the mighty men of his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their cloaks, and their tunics and hats and other garments, and they were thrown into the burning fiery furnace. Because of the king's order was so urgent, and the furnace overheated, the flame of the fire killed those who took them up, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, to throw them in. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell bound into the burning fiery flames. And the king was astonished as he rose up in haste, and he declared to his counselors, "Did we not cast 3 men bound into the fire?" And they answered and said to the king, "True, O king." And he answered and said, "But I see 4 men unbound walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt. And the appearance of the 4th is like the sons of God." So I think the phrase heated 7 times more than it's usually heated is hyperbole. And basically, he's saying, heat that baby up as hot as it'll get. You know, I want to burn these guys to where there's nothing left. I want to make an example of them. And it's there. But I love the irony in that text. He made the furnace so hot that it incinerates the 3 men. You know, he wants to incinerate the 3 men, but the guards bringing the men to the furnace, it's them that get burned. Right? The king not only sees the men are unhurt in the fire, but he sees a 4th man. And from his appearance, we know the 4th man has the appearance of one of the sons of God. Okay? This is pretty there. You got a human figure in there, human-like figure, who appears to be one of the gods. This is, I mean, I'm pretty sure you can see that prefiguring of Christ there, right? And then 26 and 27, it says, "Then Nebuchadnezzar came near the door of the burning fiery furnace, and he declared, 'Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here.' And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out from the fire. And the satraps and prefects and governors and the king's counselors gathered together and saw that the fire had not any power over the bodies of those men. The hair of their head was not singed, their cloaks were not harmed, and no smell of fire came upon them." So how many times in Scripture do you see this pattern? Pagans come to the realization that Yahweh, Jehovah, is the Most High God. He's the God that can do things that no other God can do. Right? The Queen of Sheba comes to this thing in 1 Kings 10. King Darius, the Mede, that's going to conquer Syria, he's going to get there in Daniel 6. Pharaoh got there in Exodus 9 and 10. And Balaam, the prophet, that was trying to prophesy against Israel, gets there in Numbers 24. You've seen this, this type of thematic consistency is part of what ties the entire Bible together as a unified message. That's why we're doing so much with intertextuality, because you have this thematic consistency. That's what's being there. Sometimes we get so focused on the details, we miss the big picture. And I'm trying to back us off to take a look at the big picture. Right? Just preventing the men from burning would have been a great miracle. Right? But these men don't even smell like they've been near a fire. You ever been camping, sit around a campfire, and then smell your clothes the next day or whatever? You stink like you were in the campfire. They make notice here that they don't even smell like they've been around a fire. And they were in that thing. And then 28 to 30 says, Nebuchadnezzar answered and said, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him and set aside their king's command and yielded up their body rather than serve and worship any god except their own God. Therefore I make a decree: any people, nation, or language that speaks anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be torn limb from limb, and their houses laid in ruins. For there is no other God who is able to rescue in this way. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. Okay? Again, it's a pagan king who is declaring, blessed is the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and declaring that there's no other God who's able to do this. I love how God uses these pagans. He brings them to realization. And then I watch other people that don't seem to catch this, and they claim to be Christian, and I don't understand. This is what God is saying. I'm not like anything else that you call gods. I'm not like the celestial beings or angels that you call gods. I could do things none of them can do. And you're worshiping the creation. You're worshiping angels. You're worshiping everything else other than the God of the universe. And these men didn't just claim to have faith. They put their lives and their bodies on the line to back up their claims of faith. Right? His servants, God's servants, who trusted in God and set aside the king's command and yielded up their bodies rather than serve and worship any God other than their own God, right? The him and the his is God here. They trusted him. But they didn't just say, yeah, I trust God. They acted upon that trust. They acted upon that faith. This is what James, the book of James, is about. It's about forgetting to, faith. A state of faith is nothing without the works that back it up. And it's not that your good works earn your salvation or anything else, but your good works prove your faith. And that's what James says. Don't tell me your faith, right? Show me your faith. Show me your faith by your works. So this is, like I said, we're doing a shorter version of Daniel 3 because I'm skipping the other 60 verses that are in Apocrypha. But it's my practice. I'm going to put on a song. I'm going to go read the chats. I'll be back and talk to you in a minute. And hang around. I'll be right back. I like that when Michael's his own backup singer. It's pretty cool, but it's a great song. What a talented friend I have. Amazing friend. So, yeah, Granny, Michael and Dilly are in Washington. So, uh, he's going to be off for a few days and no prayer thing. And those of you that have followed the meme team and that, just be thankful for the wisdom that God gave Michael and Dilly to walk through an opportunity, to walk through a door, spot the door of opportunity and walk through it. Uh, they didn't do what they did for any other reason than to help save the United States and the world. And but I am really blessed that it is turning into something that is very helpful. So I didn't see any other questions. And Granny's comment, yeah, sometimes God doesn't answer our prayers in the way we ask. I've seen it happen many times. You know, my brother and his wife prayed that God would make a way for his wife to stay home, and that she could be a stay-at-home mom. She got sick for an entire 9 months she was pregnant. My brother said, God, I was actually meant provide the money. And I said, be careful what you pray for, brother. God will answer it. But she became a stay-at-home mom. He found out he could do it without all the money that he thought he needed, to make that happen. So I'm going to be on with Neo tomorrow. We're going to talk about spiritual gifts and stuff. And it made me started thinking about mine. What gift do I have? Do I have a gift? And then I just pulled this out. In 2 Corinthians 11:6, Paul says, even if I'm unskilled in speaking, I know I am not so in knowledge. Indeed, if every way I've made this plain to you in all things. And I thought, wow, I can identify with that. Yeah, I'm not a great, prolific streamer. You don't have artistry here. I do what anybody would call death by PowerPoint with the amount of text I put on the screen. I can see a lot of things that people would say, yeah, you're not good at that. I'm not a public speaker. I don't sing and play instruments or dance. I don't write music. I don't have a lot of talent. I'm not a great artist. What I'm good at is study. What I'm good at is reading stuff and asking myself questions like, where's the beef? What's the flip side of this? This scholar says A is true. If I think A is not true, what evidence would I put below each proposition to make it true? To support it or refute it. And that's the way my brain works, the way God wired me. And so I think that's not a bad gift to have. It's frustrating sometimes. Sometimes I'd rather have a different gift, right? But it's a gift. But we all have a gift or multiple gifts. Like I said, Michael, amazingly gifted person, was a singer-songwriter when I knew him. He would always ask me questions about what the Bible said, what it meant. Now I'm watching him teach the Bible 6 days a week. What an amazing expansion of the gift God gave him. And he didn't know anything about memeing, and now how many memes have they created? Didn't know. I mean, he was what he called a shit poster online on X, on when it was Twitter, and now they're influencing controlling the dialogue a lot in X people. It's amazing to watch the gifts that develop, and so hopefully I'm developing new gifts. But right now, that's the one gift I can identify that I'm pretty good at figuring out the information and getting it to you. And so if you're new here, I teach Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm Donahue Papa on most platforms. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Pacific time. On when I went over to Pilled, Foxhole, the little comfy bunker over there, I messed up Donahue Papa, and when Methods helped me fix it, I became Bill Donahue on that account. And so it's a little different. You got to search on Pilled for Bill Donahue instead of Donahue Papa. And then when I finally went to YouTube, I didn't want to go to YouTube because I consider it a communist censorship platform, but it's the biggest platform in the world. So I went to YouTube. They wouldn't give me Bill Donahue. They wouldn't give me Discerning Truth. They wouldn't give me Donahue Papa. Nothing. I am Discerning Truth 534. There's not 533 other ones of us, but that's what I am. And then, like I said, I'm going to be on with Neo tomorrow. I love Neo. She's she's like one of my kids. And so she comes on at 10:15 to 10:30ish Central Time, Chicago time, right? Monday to Friday usually. And tomorrow, I like being her Bible buddy. I go over there and we talk about whatever's on Neo's mind about the Bible. And it's pretty cool. And like I said, today when I was listening, she mentioned spiritual gifts and how God's equipped us. And pretty awesome. I would recommend that everybody listening to me sign up and be a follower of Neo. And if you're not already a follower of Michael, you should be. California. What a great morning he is. He comes on at 5:30 a.m. Pacific time. A little early for me here in Hawaii, but 5:30 a.m. I listen to him on replay. But Monday to Friday, he's teaching through books in the Bible, a little interaction with the chat, some worship music, and a short Bible study. And then Sunday, his wife Linda joins him, and they're going through the Psalms. On Wednesday, he's usually praying for the nation. On Saturday, he's playing Proverbs, his Proverbs for the day. So it's nonstop. I can't keep up with him. But for my stuff, one reason I do all the text is so that I can upload my notes for you. So when I get off the air, I'm going to upload them as a PDF. And I'm going to upload them on Discerning Truth Group on Telegram. You can download them. Nothing I ever do is behind a paywall. You can do it. My replays are easiest found on Rumble under Donahue Papa. And then I have channels. Underneath Donahue Papa, there's a channel called Old Testament Books. That's where this will be. On YouTube, where you don't have to use channels and you can have as many playlists as you want. There's actually a playlist called Daniel. You can find it under Daniel. But they're here. And what else did I want to tell you? Oh, support. Like I said, I don't do stuff for money, but people have offered me support and they asked me for ways to do it. So I have all the links for support. But what's really more important to me is I have a book buying addiction. It really is. And I had a list of about 60 books I want to read in 2026. And one of my listeners, Miss Olson, asked me what books I wanted. And I sent her the whole list. And she bought a significant chunk of them. I mean, it was about 15 of the books. I mean, it's an amazingly generous gift. So after I get off the air and after I upload the thing, I'm going to upload on Telegram that remaining list. And if you want to feed my book buying addiction, that I would consider that an amazing blessing. But don't feel obligated. You don't owe me anything other than, to love God. And if you love God, that's all I want. And do it. So with that, I'm going to get out of here for today. God bless you all. And hopefully I'll see you tomorrow at Neo's.